Hello, folks. This is Ben Baker again. I really appreciate you tuning in to our first installment of Influencers and Millionaires with not only an influencer and a millionaire, because he covers and checks both boxes. He's also a personal friend of mine. This is Smokey Garrett.
Well, thank you for having me on. I mean, this is exciting. I get to be your first, so to speak, and in terms of launching this out. I know that's exciting. That's exciting for me.
First.
I don't get to say that very often. So Ben, I'm honored to be here. You and I have been friends for a long time and have known each other as business peers. I don't know about your intro, but thank you. But the friends part is definitely true. So I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd say, because I know you're a family man, hopefully you might get some kudos from the wife and kids. So here's where you can say hi and insert their names.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. Well, definitely a family man. I have my lovely wife. We have been married. Well, it's 19 years. It'll be 19 years. Shoot, cut that so I make sure I'm right. So all right. So. Don't let me mess that one up. I got to make sure the math's right on that. Yes. Been a lovely wife. Been married 19 years. I have 2 kids. I have a son that is 12 years old. His name's Colton. I have a daughter that is just turned 14 years old. Their son's in 6th. Katie is in 8th grade, and it's been a lot of fun. My family is really what drives me and what pushes me to be better every day.
Well, that's great. Typically at Keller Williams, I think we've got our own language here at Keller Williams.
We do.
And you really just touched on something. I wasn't headed in that direction, but I'm hearing passion. I'm hearing why. Would you say that's part of your big why?
100%, no doubt. I mean, when you're talking about why I do what we do, and I do think, in life, I mean, I've done a lot of things in my life, and I've messed up a lot of things in my life, and that was, part of the learning process. But in the beginning, I think, I have different whys all the time, and I think people think it's, for me, it's just there's just one big why, and that drives you throughout your life. And so, I don't think that's the case for me. In growing up, and my life was headed one way, and had some things happen, and had some injuries, and changed, and then went another way, and always kept looking and searching. So I've had lots of whys. And so when I had my daughter, though, when I had Katie, that is the one that truly changed my life and changed the way I thought about things, and really where I saw my life going, and really what I wanted. And that was one of the catalysts to creating a different, bigger life for me. And 100%. My family, being with my family, my kids, being there for my kids, being there. I wanted to be the coach. I want to be the guy at all the games. I want to have that kind of life with the kids. I want to be there for my kids, and in order to do that, I had to kind of change up how I was doing things and what I was doing. And so, I've watched you with your family throughout the years, and how important that is to you. So I've had lots of role models in that in that group of what that really looks like. And so I'm not, I had my family, I came from the horse industry, and so the male role models in my family were very staunch, hard, not necessarily warm people, not bad in any way. They was cut from a different cloth at a different time. And so so as you search through those and the role models that you look for of who does that well, what do you want to be, and what do I really want to be as a father, as a husband, as a man, as a leader, all of those things kind of roll into it. And I don't think it's just one place you go with it. For me, it's who you are at home, it's who you are at work, it's who you are, and that kind of comes from your belief system.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I think that there's a commonality, not just with you and I, but I think so many men that we know in this industry and that we call friends, being, I think, a loving husband and father are probably just about all of our proudest moments. I know for sure. It's one of mine. Even in light of everything that's happened to mine, it's still my most proudest moment.
Absolutely.
So, I appreciate you sharing that, and they're fortunate and blessed to have you. So,
well, I'm not sure they say that every day, but I hope that's what they will remember as we go through.
And they will. And you and I both know it's not the fact that we have wealth that we can shower them with things. I think you mentioned coaching and supporting, and I'm sure there's recitals and choir and band, and you and I both know that's the importance that they're really looking for. They want us there. They don't need to be showered with clothes and goodies all the time. So,
right. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Wow. Well, I appreciate you sharing that.
Hey,
So
no problem.
we're going to
Thank you.
jump right into who Smokey Garrett is. And Smokey, you know what? I didn't even have this as a question, but I think it's important that the viewers know a little about you. So tell me your background and where has your success and wealth come from?
Okay. Broad statement, but we'll kind of start back with, I was fortunate enough. I grew up here in Plano. You and I graduated from Plano East together,
Yes,
and
we have.
back in the day. And so I grew kind of up in Plano. I actually grew up out in Parker by South Fork Ranch, and it's where we was raised. As I mentioned earlier, we were kind of raised as a cowboy family. My grandfather was a horse trainer. My family, did horses and horse training and ranches. So we had a ranch that kind of up in McKinney, my grandparents had land. I got to grow up. It's where I spent most of my summers, up on the land and up working and out hunting and fishing and working. I kind of got my work ethic, I think, from that belief, because I got to hang out with a lot of really great, cowboys, and I don't know if that makes sense to everybody who doesn't know what I'm really talking about, but I grew up cutting horses, and so there was always fence to fix, and there was always horses to feed, cattle to feed, something to be done. There was never any time just to sit around and do nothing. And so I kind of grew up in that environment. There's always something to be done, always something that needs work or needs help. And so graduated high school. Actually went to Tarleton State University. Was going to my plan was to be a horse trainer. I wanted to go learn the business and get a degree. That was important for me to actually get a degree. Tarleton was the place to go as far as in that industry, and
that
I think
still is.
Yeah, still is. Absolutely. It's developed a lot more into some business and several other disciplines, but that's exactly what it's done. And enjoyed that. Went and won quite a bit when I was 18, 19 years old. I think I was winning from what I was showing. I was making about $120,000 to $150,000 a year is kind of what I was winning, and it didn't cost me very much to live. And I was for that's still a lot of money today, but back then that was a lot of money, and especially to me who didn't have that much growing up. And so that became a lot of money, and I'm like, wow, this is where I want to go with my life and my career. And I was buying horses, doing things, and showing. I'd actually sat out of school for a semester, and that's where I was headed. I was going to go into that direction. And so a couple things happened in my life that kind of changed that. One of them was I ruptured a disc in my back, and so I got up for one of our big shows, and I actually sat up, and it knocked the wind out of me. I remember it crystal clear. I couldn't move. I laid back down. I'm like, oh my goodness, what's happened? And so I was trying to work it out, stretch it out, and it didn't. I ended up couldn't ride, couldn't go, and so took a little bit of a break, and had to step out of that big event as I was going through some things, and went and took some steroid injections, did quite a few things. Went to get up to go to in April, about 5 months later, I went to get up and I thought I was kind of back in shape, ready to go, and went to get up to go to the first go and kind of begin this again, and horses, which sometimes do, colicked over the night and end up passing away. Well, I didn't have any insurance. The horse was worth actually quite a bit of money, and I had a lot of money tied up in it. And so I was, broke again in terms of that, and that was one of my horses that I was showing. That was the income for what we were doing. And so I kind of took that as a sign for me from God. I'm like, all right, you know what this is? This is God saying, hey, you know what? This probably isn't your path. And so all of those things happened. I went through a lot of other things that outside of that with family and things that went through that same period of time. But I said, all right, this is God saying, hey, try a different direction. So I did. I enrolled back in school that summer, and went to the summer, changed my major to business administration, got a double major in business administration and marketing, and that was my new direction. I didn't know for sure where that was going to end up, but I knew this direction was not going to be where I was supposed to be. And so now I took my life a little different path and ended up graduating took 20, 21 hours a semester and ended up graduating and with a double major, and then I went kind of out in the work world. I actually, real estate wise, I think everybody has it. When you're in the real estate industry, everyone has a real estate story that they accidentally got into real estate.
Right.
No one ever really intended to go into the real estate business. So I definitely have one of those stories. And so, for me, I was in Stephenville and I'd graduated and I was going to go in the pharmaceutical industry and a horse anything with the horses didn't really translate onto a resume. And so I actually had a job with Alcon, pharmaceutical industry. I'm like, that seemed like a great place to go. My buddy went and he was making some big money there. And I went and interviewed and they said they actually went through the whole interview process and they hired me, except they said I couldn't be a salesperson. And so what they said was I had to be there for 2 years, and then after that they could move me to a territory and I could start work. And I'm like, okay. And I said, because I had no sales background, and so if I had sales, they could start me immediately. And I'm like, if they had 1 year of sales experience, and I'm like, okay, so that's quicker. I said, does it matter where I go? And does it matter where the sales is from? And they said, no. And I said, what about real estate? If I had a year of real estate sales, do I come back and get that? And they said absolutely. And he said, you're good. I just have to have 1 year of sales under your belt to hire you. And so I'm like, well, perfect. Because with my major, I'd taken some real estate courses, mainly because they were easy electives. So I took the real estate courses, and I'd also read all the books on wealth and Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and all of those things. And it was real estate was the a big way of going with it. And so I'm like, all right, well, real estate is a part of my future, so I want to go learn this and do that. And that's kind of how I started in real estate. And I said, so I didn't matter. I didn't think through of saying, all right, this is where I wanted to go. I went to work for very little. I got 30% of my commission, not the other way. That's what I kept because they had a place to go learn, and that was what I always was seeking out. It didn't matter what I made. I needed to make a living, but I needed to go learn. So it was the learning that I wanted to get. And back then it was Century 21. There were 3 of the top 5 Century 21s in the world. We're kind of in one little area there. And so I went and interviewed all 3 of those because that was all I knew. And so I went and interviewed all 3 of those, picked the one I liked, and that had a great training program and had people whose businesses I wanted to be around. I'm like, I didn't even, smart or not smart, I didn't even ask questions. I'm like, all right, great, am I hired? Is this something we can do? And they took me through a whole interview process, and they were very picky about who they hired and how they did things. And I'm like, I want to be a part of this. And so I did, always knowing I was going to leave and get out of this. And so, first 6 months were tough and didn't sell anything. 6th month, I finally, kind of figured some of this out. And I think I closed 10 homes my 6th month, and then I was kind of off from there. So, so numbers and all of that stuff, I started out, slow, but I learned you continue to work and do, and ends up providing. But for me, I could see a path big enough. Year came and went, and I never thought about doing anything else. I'm like, real estate's my path. I don't know if it's my final journey of this thing, but real estate is my path because I can see the wealth building sides, the opportunity, and it's in a business that I've grown to love. And it was actually owning a business.
That is beautiful.
I'm sorry, that was a very long story. I didn't mean to go so long with the boring side.
I think everyone we've all got a story. And I think you're so right in that most of us don't start out thinking, I'm going to go in real estate. While I'm at Baylor University, I knew that real estate was going to be part of my future, but I didn't even know what realtors did. That's how naive I was, And I had a mentor, and when I finally decided to walk away from the corporate side, I thought, you know what, real estate, there's something there. And so I pursued it, and 30 years later, here we are.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Do you have Do you have a mentor in this business?
I've had, if I've done anything right, and as I said, I made a lot of mistakes. I've always, throughout my entire life, it's never been about what I was getting paid, what I was making, any of that. It was about the who. And so when I was horses, it was about the who. I worked for the for the legend in the industry. That's where I spent my summers on his ranch when I was growing up, working for free. I didn't need to get paid to go do all this. I'm working for free, learning, and that I'm getting paid on the winning side. So I get paid on that. And so, yes, mentors have been something that have been very, very, very important to me. It's how I picked my first real estate company, was because of the mentors that were there. I got to be exposed to some very top people. It was Alan Toppy. I don't know if you know that name. He was the manager, office manager. Dave Jinks was an office manager there. To throw out old names.
Yes,
and Tim Wood, he was there from California,
yes.
And so those were all the people
over in
that
Big
were,
Bear now or something.
Big Bear, yeah,
right?
Big Bear, and so he was. Those were the kind of mentors that were all on the management leadership side of that office, and so mentors were always something that was very, 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 very important to me as I went, and still today. I mean, that's. You gotta always keep following, always keep growing, always keep looking at what's next, and never get stale. And so it's always continuing to look for a mentor or somebody that's doing something that you want to do at the highest level possible. And that's who I want to go listen to. Wow. What I earn doesn't really matter. Right. It's what I learn. And so
amen.
And so that's what I want to take from it.
You hit it on the head. And I think in pursuit of talent, that's something that I'm looking for. I'm looking for agents. I'm looking for business people who understand that you learn and then you remove the L.
Right.
Right?
Yep. I love that. I love that. I'm going to steal that because I love that.
Yeah, it's yours. I'm sure I stole it from somebody else, and I'm not sure who it was. But I thought that's exactly right. And I think in our industry, I've got other folks who've been in it as long as we have, and they act like they've got all the secrets. And I'm like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
30 years in this business, I'm learning all day, every day. And
Absolutely.
You and I both, we touched on it before the camera started rolling, that we know that 2019, it's going to be a year of change and adjustment. And if you're not willing to do some things differently or learn some different things, then I believe you're on your way out.
100%. Absolutely. If right now where we are, and unfortunately, you and I are old enough that say, I've been through a few market shifts. We've been through some things. We've seen some of this, and so we know kind of what's coming. Now, this is going to be a shift in a different way because it's a thinking shift, and there's going to be an economic shift, but it's also a thinking shift, and it's going to be a big opportunity when things kind of start to level out and things get different. It causes disruption, and the disruption becomes uncomfortable and causes fear. And then the ones who are able to either get rid of the fear and able to have a plan and be a true leader during this time, because fear to me comes just from being unprepared. If you don't know what's happening, don't know where you're going, then that's what's creating the fear.
Agreed.
And so, through that will come the massive opportunity that's going to be created. But you're not going to be able to be passive about it. This is, it's times, I learned a long time ago, millionaires weren't created in the good times. Millionaires were created in the bad times, and so that's when it's the biggest wealth transfer, because things are dropping, and all the wealth you had, now you're transferring it, and there's a new way of taking and looking at it, and but it requires different skill sets. That's what you and I were talking about. You were telling me that it requires different skill sets to go compete. It requires a different knowledge. It requires understanding the customer in a different way. It causes being able to shift and move and not wait.
How they want to be communicated with and marketing to, all that.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that kind of moves into the new society. People have a different way. We're doing something different than how we used to communicate, and using different tools, and that's the fun part. It's the recreation and the starting from zero everywhere, and getting to be a part of what the future looks like, and that begins to be the fun part for me.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you for spending time. Again, we've got a few more minutes, so don't go anywhere. Matter of fact, this might be a great time for us to take a small commercial break, and when we come back, Smokey's going to give some advice to his younger self, and also touch on maybe what he did with his first million. Okay. So we'll be right back.
Wow, nice.
They're looking for an agent that is willing to invest time, energy, who's caring, who creates an experience. I really believe that today's consumer is looking for an experience. At the end of the day, I'm so fortunate that that's what I bring to the table is everyone will say they're trustworthy. I think that my 3 decades of service has proven that. My thousands of loyal clients has proven that I'm worthy of your trust, and I'm willing and wanting to earn it each and every day. I'm so blessed and fortunate to be from this community. I know this Dallas area, Frisco, Denton County, Collin County, Dallas County. I know it like the back of my hand. It's all in the pursuit and finding exactly what it is that's going to make you happy. And again, my job's not done, and I'm not happy until we've knocked it out of the park. Ben Baker, Keller Williams.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for joining in again. Smokey, I think we left it where, well, we were talking about millions and advice. And before we move into the real fun stuff, I want you to touch on when you look back, what advice today would you give, say, your 13, 14, 15-year-old Smokey as an adult now?
Man, you go back that far. There's a bunch of advice I'd give, not to be mentioned on camera ever.
Right.
So there's a bunch of things I'd say stay away from with that. At the end of the day, I think couple of things is for me. I look at life a couple of ways, and I was always a little bit in a hurry, and I see that in my son a little bit in a hurry. He's 12 years old, and he's already planning his life and how many kids he's going to have, and
Wow.
and where that is, which is awesome. But there's a couple of parts. You always got to be in the moment, and you've always got to kind of enjoy the journey. And so, because there's a journey that goes along with this, you can continue to move this forward, but it's who you become throughout the process. Because to say, okay, you're talking about making $1 million here, what the first $1 million looks like. And so you can't do that until you kind of become the person who can. And I always put it in terms of, which one of my favorite statements is, when it comes to goal, this is kind of, goal setting season. We're kind of starting to look at next year and what's coming and all those things. And so with our goals, but it's about setting a goal so big that you can't accomplish it till you become the person who can. And honestly, you set those big goals and put those out there, then I have to go become that person, because who I am today can't even conceive of making $1 million. Who I am today can't even fathom what that was. But I need to become the person who can do that, and I need to go find out how to do that and what to do.
Wow.
And so for me, it's also why you get kind of depressed when you hit a goal, because we'll set these goals, and when you actually hit a goal, for me at least, you'll get a little depression or a little bit of, that's it. It really wasn't as cool as what I thought it was going to be. And so reason is because you become a different person. You become the person who can do that goal. Therefore, it's no longer exciting. And therefore, it's not, that's not, you don't have that passion inside. Because like, of course I can. That's what we did. And so, it's setting that goal and then making sure, not being afraid to go set that goal, and not being afraid to go work every day to go get that, and it will come. There's a lot of uncertainty and fear, and I think that's a part of every entrepreneur journey that we all have, and people saying a lot of things that might not be the best for your career or best for what you're doing, because especially when you go in the real estate industry, it's straight commission. So no one gives you a salary. No one gives you things. And so you have to go earn that. And families sometimes don't understand that. And like, I need you to go get a job, go do this, go do all those things. And so, it's about the journey. And so, that one piece of advice is enjoy the journey and don't be afraid to think big. That was number one advice to go back, I think, and give myself is is enjoy that journey and don't be afraid to think big and just go for it. And number two is, and we hear this all the time, and it's almost cliche at this point, but it has to do with failure. I mean, failure is not a negative thing. You have to fail a certain amount of times in order to go accomplish anything, and so in order to learn it. And so a lot of times in my life I would tend to hesitate because I didn't want to fail, and I was afraid of failing. I was afraid of not getting it right or getting it perfect. And so, the fun part when you get to the other side is it's almost looking at it differently. If you can't wait to fail, how can I go? I'm just gonna let's go. I'm gonna mess this up 20 times, so let's get this going today. And so, how can I go? How can I go fail today? And it just becomes a different way of looking at it. But I think both things I just said, as I think back through, it all comes a little bit from fear of failure, fear of success, and just the journey as you go. But it does have to do with that side of it, and just go make mistakes. Go, nobody's perfect, and don't be afraid of the outcome.
Wow. I love what I do. I love the creation even of this show, because I've known you forever, and I feel like even our time together, I'm learning more and more about you, and I think that,
wow, I don't like that guy.
Well, no, I think as a real estate professional, as a business owner, failure. I think we're now speaking a language where we want to fail faster.
Yeah.
And I think hopefully the viewers of the show will understand the point we're making, because huge success really can't come without, I think, huge failure.
Absolutely.
And we're failing every day, and we're wanting to get on the other side of that, because we know there's where the success is. So I appreciate you sharing that, and I hope that you got the point that was being made here. So would that be the same advice that you'd give to a young entrepreneur today who's seeing this, who's thinking, at some point, I'd love to sit in Ben Baker's seat, or Smokey Garrett?
Well, I think in the beginning it goes back to one of my core beliefs about getting around mentors and people who have done this. And we live in a society that has that is great, that is changing. I mean, there's different ways to communicate. Everything is at your fingertips, and you can go learn a lot of things online and go hear a lot of things and get some of the basics. And so it's the learning piece is great, but it's also just the mindset piece. That's what we left out. And we can talk about all these things from learning, but what is the mindset? What are those little nuances? Who are you around? Who's feeding you every day? I look at how things are changing with our industry and changing in all industries. And so, more of people who are working out of their home and doing things. And the fear for me with that is you become an island and you don't get better. You can only get better by being around people who are doing more. I believe we were created to do this, and we have, whether you creation or evolution, we have evolved into created to be around other people, and that is the only way that I know to go get better. So it's seeking out those mentors, people who are working and doing things that you want to go do, and figuring out a way to go be around that. Just saying I'm an expert because I sat here and I watched a YouTube video on it, or saying I'm an expert because I got this information, or I can Google it faster than what you can say and have the right answer. But but if you really want to do something great, you really want to change the world, and you've got to be around people who are on that same journey with you. We talk about building a tribe, and who's in your tribe, and who are you going on this journey with, and who are the people you're taking. But then who are you? We call it who are you creating wealth for? Who are we helping to do that? But who are those mentors that are pouring back into you and helping you get there? And so that's my biggest piece of advice. If I was, going back in the beginning, I just got lucky going and being around those people. That wasn't really, a natural thing. I got lucky, and then I figured out, all right, and more I need to be around people that are doing more with what I want to have. And so, I've never been afraid in my life to stop something and start something new. I've never been afraid to let something go and go recreate something when I see it's the path of where we're going. And so but I have to find new who, and that's what always. That's a long answer, and I apologize, but there's a lot. There's a lot kind of wrapped in there to talk about, just because it's all these things that we have. At the end of the day, you've got to find somebody who's doing it, who can show you those
Right.
little things in between, those little connectors, the mindset piece, all the other things you don't see when someone's up on stage or someone's up doing a video or doing any of that. You're not going to sit there and tell all that.
Right.
And so you're going to say what they're doing that's so great that makes everything look awesome. You want to impress somebody, you stand up and tell them your successes. You want to inspire somebody, you go back and tell them about your failures and really what happened
Right.
and really how that worked. And that's where that comes the one-on-one side.
And that's so powerful. And you're not giving yourself enough credit. You said you were lucky. I think, you were lucky, but that's the intersection between preparation and opportunity. There's the luck there. And we know that the harder we work, the luckier we are.
Always works out that way, doesn't it?
I'll tell you, there is I learned one thing, and I'll give Grant Taft credit for this. I don't think he created the term, but opportunity.
Okay, I like it.
And so that's where preparation meets opportunity. That's real luck. So thanks, Coach. I appreciate that. Now for the fun stuff. Tell us when you start having this massive success, and you made your first million or two or five. Did you buy something? Did you do something fun with the money? Did you reward yourself? What'd you do?
Funny enough, and I'll keep this brief, but I'd always had a goal of being a millionaire by the time I was 30 and having a net worth of that, and so I accomplished those goals, and every time I'd accomplished a goal, then I would go, really just reinvest into something, whether, buying rental properties, and it's usually what I did. And once I made it, I went back and reinvested into other things. And so whether it was, trying to figure out buying businesses, buying rental property, investing in stock market, and I've figured out a whole bunch of things I don't really know and shouldn't be playing with, and
Right.
and failed a lot through some of those things. But it was always a reinvesting in. And so what's funny about this is I have an uncle, and he's one of my kind of financial mentors. He's made many millions, had houses all over the country, on the ocean, lakes. I mean, he was somebody on the Chicago Board of Trade, and he taught me something many years ago. He said, instead of just always working and always investing this back in, he said, you've also got to take, every time you get a big, section of money, don't just go reinvest it all, or don't just go stick it in an account. He said, go and take a portion of that and go buy something big for yourself or your family. Go remember why you're doing what you're doing.
Great advice.
Whether it's go and buy something for your family, whether it's, giving to charities or church or school, whatever we choose to do with it, it's something that goes back in now to filling us. And so, but for years it was always just I'd reinvest back in. And really what I'd do is I'd go start, a new business. I became a net worth of $1 million, had the cash, and I went and started a new business. And actually that's when I moved to Keller Williams, started those things, and that was a whole new relaunch program. So I actually went backwards for a little while because I was doing some different things and learning some different skills and kind of starting over. I'd had achieved that goal. Now it's time to set a new one or go look at a different way of going and doing things.
Wow.
And so I don't know if that answers your question.
Absolutely, it does. So with all that, what companies do you? Where does the money come from?
What do I do?
Is it all? Yeah. What do you do?
I don't even
what
know.
Do you do?
My wife gives that to me. So I don't know. So.
Right.
Okay, so I sold real estate forever and grew a team and had that and stepped out of my team. It was actually my daughter Katie, when she was born, that changed the way I thought. So
Yes.
so that's when I've always understood passive income. I've read all the books on it and all of that and wealth and listening to everybody and what they've done. But that was when my why kicked in for, I told you earlier, I want
Yes.
to go spend time. So I had to go do this differently. And so that's where I had to go learn the skill set of how to run companies and grow businesses and grow people. And that's actually a different journey. That's you take the journey off of myself. When it's me doing it, I can go as fast as I want to go. It's about me. It's about the individual. And so, hey, let's go conquer that mountain, but I'm the one going to go do it. And so that was the real estate side of this. And so now, you have to switch over. You're running companies, running businesses. Now that switches from the me side to now I have to build through people. And now you're
right.
Yeah. And now you have to build through people and understand the why and understand all those principles that you hear and talk about, but really understand them at a high level. It stops becoming about you and starts becoming about the organization, the why, the vision, where people are going, and really what you want to accomplish. And so, my daughter was the one that kind of changed my thought process, and then I'm like, all right, it's time to go. And so I stepped out of, I was doing. I was grossing right at $1 million a year selling real estate, and I stepped out of that business and went into our deal was a team leader. I went to become team leader, and so that's where I ran the organization. I ran the agents, ran the offices, because that's what I wanted to do. So I had to go learn the skill set. I had to go learn the skill set of how to go do that, and there wasn't a better way for me to go learn it. And that's where I kind of found my passion, my passion for people and helping people and growing people. And I found it by, like everything else in my life, a little bit by mistake. Found it by mistake because I ended up loving, and that's what filled me every day, was being able to help people and help people grow their businesses and be comfortable in pushing them enough to sometimes make them uncomfortable, but at the end of the day, you're changing people's lives. And so so that went to that side, and then that was where my passion. I felt it at that point. I'm like, all right, again, this is where I'm supposed to be. And so worked into that, from that to one company to we have 14 different offices, 14 different Keller Williams offices all over North Texas, all of New Mexico, Memphis that we get to run. I do train around the country and run that. Also involved with a mortgage company. We have several other businesses. We have probably 15 rental properties that are completely paid off. That was part of our goal, to get those paid off. We've kind of went with the market in the different businesses, and so done some flipping, done some different parts with this, and just continuing down the journey. There's probably, the cool thing is I don't even know, probably 15, 20 different businesses that I get to work in and get to be partners in some way, shape, and form. Get to be either from actually working in it, to being an employee of, to just being an advisor of, to just being an investor of. Right. So, they're all in different states in some of this. And so still being able to create, but you still got to create as you go through this. And so my hand's in lots of different things, and I get up every day and I think about how to create a bigger world for our people and bigger opportunities. And that's something that every day I wake up, it's not at some point as you go through your life, and I think it has a lot to do with age. And so I don't know if it's age, state of life, or economic position, but it becomes, it comes off of you. In the beginning, it's just about learning or money, and then it kind of becomes about status, and as you transition through, and then it kind of becomes about significance
and making a difference. Absolutely.
And making a difference as you go, either in people's lives, for people. And so for me, that was always, I do it in the way I know. I've got to keep building something bigger, not because I need money, because it's not. It comes off of that. Right. That's no longer a motivator. That's only a motivator for a very short period of your life. And that's a motivator from not having any to having some. That's the only motivation that you get. And after that, it becomes about everything else. We talked about the why and some of those pieces. But it ends up just continuing to grow. And how do we create more opportunities, bigger opportunities, to have a big world to live in? And, Gary Keller's a great mentor on that. I have lots of mentors in that. I'm very fortunate that I get to, sit with him on a monthly basis, one-on-one, and talk and talk about the companies and how we grow. And that's just another piece of mindset. I get to hang out with John Davis, weekly and talk about, he's the CEO of Keller Williams, about where things are going. And so you're around a different group, but it also just helps expand your mind and your world, not because I'm making any money out of that, but it's expanding the world. And therefore, Gary's done a great job continuing to break it, to reinvent it, to go make it bigger, to have room for everybody, and no one ever gets really comfortable. So we've always got to keep in 100%.
Smokey, I hope that if you're in real estate or not, I think there's some wisdom being shared here, and I hope that you're getting it. I would say one of them that you just touched on is we grow into the conversations around us.
Absolutely.
And I see, and it frustrates me so when I hear other professionals, they talk like they're on an island. I'm like, you're not on an island. And if you are, then I feel like you're not growing. You know, we want to bring you in and let's chop it up. Let's mastermind. Let's talk, because I feel like we're all going to grow from that.
Right.
And I appreciate it, and we've chatted about it before. My hope is that there is an opportunity for you and I to do some business in the future, and I believe that there is. So we'll explore that. So,
Absolutely.
You know, as we get close to wrapping things up, I'd like to ask, and is there not what advice? Where do I go from here? Because I think you've basically touched on most things. If there's something that as you walk away, what would you like for the viewers to know that they don't know about Smokey Garrett? Give us something interesting.
Wow. I'm interesting part. I don't know. I have all kinds of interesting things I can share one day, but today might not be the platform in order to share some of the interesting pieces. You know, for me, I wake up every day, and I wake up every day excited about what I do, even when this has been tough, and this has been a tough last year in terms of having to relearn and regrow and really look at, all right, who do I need to be this year? I wake up every day, and I wake up every year as I look at our goals, and I'm like, am I the leader for this organization that I need to have? Am I the leader I need to be? Am I the person that needs to go do that? And so I think the big mistake everybody makes is you look at where everybody is, and you think, man, you know, I wish I had that, but you don't really see all the pain that went into that, and all the learning and the sacrifice that went into go accomplishing some of those things. Because, you know, I'm of average intelligence at best, and I have made a lot of mistakes, and it's been a fun ride. But I've made sure I've done it with people I enjoy every day, and I've made sure it's okay. I've made every mistake there is to make, and I have grown from each one of those, and I haven't looked at it, and I had to learn to recreate my mindset a lot, because, you know, money was not something I came from. Money was something that it was the opposite of that. It's kind of where I came from, and then I ended up, you know, having this. So it's just learning that path in life, and, you know, for me, it's getting up and loving what I do, loving the journey, loving the people I get to be around, and understanding why I'm doing this. And I sometimes the pursuit of money, the pursuit of more, gets in the way and harms people. And so because after you have enough, that's enough, and so then life is good. But then why else are you doing it? It's not just to collect. And so it's still remembering, and I have to watch myself, it's still remembering it's for our people. I'm still my family. I still got to make sure I stay centered, and I stay excited about what I'm doing. And I get to do that because I'm building for all these people. So I'm getting up, building something for our entire team to have lives, and big as life as they want to have. And that continues to be my drive and goal every day.
Well, and we share that passion, and I think
We do.
You and I we're cut from the cloth that we rise by lifting others.
Yep.
And I love that about me. I've self-discovered that.
I've watched it.
I think you're that same person. So again, I appreciate you. I appreciate you for all that you're doing and that you've done and what's to come in the future. I know that you're a ferocious reader. So give us one book, or give us two books now that you're either reading or that you've just recently read that might be able to help someone in this audience today.
Yeah. Well, I it's a book that I've reread now several times, but it starts with Why, Simon Sinek, and so it's a book that I have to forever make sure when you're going into something that is challenging. It is about the why. So I got to make sure we're connecting everybody with why we're doing this and help to do that. So that was a great book. I mean, goodness, there's been tons of books throughout my life. Talent is overrated. Talent is overrated. I mean, all those books. But I think, you know, Talent is Overrated is one of my favorite ones, because it has nothing to do, if you've ever read it, it has nothing to do with talent. It talks about how Jerry Rice, who talked about being a receiver. Jerry Rice was the greatest not because he was just the fastest or the most natural, but he worked the hardest, and what he put into that, and
Right.
purposeful practice, and ended up growing and just being determined to go win. And so it really lines things out, and it really does say we can be whoever we want to be. I mean,
Right.
at the end of the day, as long as we're willing to do the things that are necessary to go have that,
Right.
then we can go accomplish at any level we want to have. Are we willing to do it? We live in a little bit of the millennial society, wherever my boys went over there.
Yes,
So
right.
I live in the little millennial society of a little more immediate gratification, and
Right.
and that's not bad. But there's no shortcuts.
Right.
There's no shortcuts. We're all on this journey. We're all in this together, and as far as I know, we only all go around one time. So
Yes, we
it's
do.
making the most we can out of it, and growing together, and having fun while we do it.
Well, I'd say one of my favorite books, and I think it's really a business book, was, and I guess the first time I read it was about 25 years ago. I think I read it 20 years ago, and I think I need to reread it today, is The Millionaire Next Door. I learned so much from that book, and I I think that you'll learn something too. So pick it up.
You know that book was one of my that was the first business book somebody had ever given me.
Okay.
That as a gift. I remember when
Wow.
I got it. I remember where I was when I got it. I'd read all the business books and went and got even the Donald Trump, all the stuff back in
Yes.
the day, and to read and to listen to. But The Millionaire Next Door was a book that I remember very clearly. It was given to me as a Christmas gift, and
Wow.
and I loved and lived that.
Isn't that
I really have
That's
loved
crazy.
and
I
lived
just
that
threw
book.
that out there. I had no idea.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite books. It was the
Yeah.
first book I ever had. Like, this is a business book. It's mine. So
Yes.
it was a gift. So
Wow.
so absolutely.
Well, I think because we're, I mean, I've got you by, 4, 5, 6 years. And so I think the audience may not understand this last question, but Ginger or Marianne?
I love that. I love that question. I was clearly I was a Marianne girl, no doubt. I mean,
Marianne
Marianne
for me
guy. That
too.
was
Oh, my
Marianne.
goodness.
It was never Ginger.
Wow,
it was
never Ginger.
Marianne. Yeah.
Marianne all the way.
Yeah. There we go.
Smokey, I appreciate you.
Brother, I can't tell you. Thank you for all you do. And I've just this is we are two old friends chatting and talking, and this has been amazing. So I'm honored to get to spend some time with you and just do this. We should do this more.
Well, let's
Go over
do
a cocktail
it.
next time.
Let's do it. I hope that as I look at this camera, that you gotten something from it. That's my whole goal here. Next month, I think you'll love my guest. He is Skip Cheeto Lee. Skip is out of Seattle, Washington, a very prominent businessman who's not only an influencer but a multimillionaire. And I think you'll love what Skip will bring to the table. And I hope that you'll join us next month on Influencers and Millionaires.
I believe the lifestyle is vitally important in today's market, because most of my clients, they don't want just a house. They're looking for a home, a place to create memories and grow families and strengthen communities. And it's about the experience. It's lifestyle. That's what people are looking for today, an experience. And it's about who you are, who your family is, and it's about where you want to grow roots and strengthen communities. I believe that's why lifestyle is important today. Ben Baker, Keller Williams.